Nathaniel Brooks, a billionaire, bets 100 bitcoins that he can stay married for 6 months to Mia Torres, a resilient paper collector, and what happens next is shocking. What would make a single mother accept a marriage bet with a billionaire? And how could that decision change their lives forever? Before we continue, tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching the video from. And don't forget to subscribe. In a sprawling metropolis, where the skyline pierced the clouds and the streets hummed with the energy of ambition, Nathaniel Brooks occupied a penthouse suite that was a testament to his success. The grand room, adorned with sleek modern furnishings and extravagant art pieces, overlooked the city's heartbeat below. From his vantage point, Nathaniel could see the world unfold, people bustling, cars weaving through traffic, and neon lights flickering to life as dusk settled in. Despite the opulence surrounding him, a deep sense of ennui clung to Nathaniel, a billionaire tech mogul whose accomplishments felt increasingly hollow. Chasing the high of his latest business triumph had become a monotonous routine, each day blending into the next. His friends, a cadre of fellow elites, mingled in the vast space, their laughter echoing off the marble walls as they indulged in lavish hors d'oeuvres and fine wines. They were engrossed in discussions that revolved around investments, startups, and the latest tech innovations. Yet, amidst this clamor, Nathaniel felt detached, an outsider in his own life. The thrill of success had waned, and he yearned for something, anything, that would spark his interest and reignite his passion. It was then that he caught snippets of a conversation drifting from the other side of the room. A couple of his friends debated the fickleness of love, their voices laced with a mix of disdain and amusement. They spoke of love as a fleeting sentiment, something to be toyed with and discarded at will. This discussion, laden with cynicism, stirred something within Nathaniel. He leaned back in his plush chair, his mind racing with possibilities. What if love was not merely a game of chance, but an adventure worth pursuing? What if he could step outside the gilded cage of his life and experience something radically different? With a sudden rush of inspiration, Nathaniel's gaze sharpened as an outrageous idea crystallized in his mind. He would marry someone from an entirely different world, a stark contrast to his own. The thought of a wager took shape, a daring bet that would challenge societal norms and his own perceptions. He envisioned a union forged not in the traditional sense, but as a test of endurance and adaptability. The thrill of the gamble electrified him, a stark departure from the sterile confines of his corporate empire. Meanwhile, in a starkly different reality, Mia Torres rummaged through a dumpster behind a local grocery store, her hands skillfully sifting through discarded items. She paused, her heart heavy with the weight of her circumstances. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm glow, but it did little to alleviate the chill that settled in her bones. The scent of refuse mingled with the fresh air, a constant reminder of her struggle to provide for her young son, Oliver. Each crumpled soda can and plastic bottle she retrieved was a small victory in a relentless battle against the odds. Mia's thoughts drifted to her ex-husband, a specter of her past who had left her in a financial quagmire, burdened with debt and emotional scars. The memories played in her mind like a broken record, each replay fueling her determination to forge a better life for herself and Oliver. She envisioned a future filled with stability and security, yet reality often pulled her back into the depths of despair. The weight of her responsibilities pressed down on her like an anchor, tethering her to a life she desperately wanted to escape. As she filled her bag with recyclables, a glimmer of hope flickered in her chest. Perhaps this day would yield something more than just scraps, something that could bring her closer to a brighter tomorrow. However, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the harsh truth of her situation loomed large. She was a single mother navigating a world that often overlooked her struggles. The thought of love seemed like a distant fantasy, something reserved for those living in a reality she could only dream of. Fate, however, had other plans. Nathaniel, emboldened by his audacious idea, ventured outside his penthouse and into the streets below. The vibrant pulse of the city was intoxicating, and he felt a surge of excitement as he strolled through the bustling neighborhoods. He was searching for inspiration, for the embodiment of the challenge he had concocted in his mind. The contrast of his world against the backdrop of everyday life intrigued him. He was determined to find someone who could disrupt his carefully curated existence. It was at a local recycling center, a place buzzing with activity and the hum of determination, that Nathaniel first spotted Mia. She was a whirlwind of energy, her hands deftly sorting through the chaos of discarded items with an unwavering focus. Her determination struck him immediately. There was a resilience in her posture, a fire in her spirit that captivated him. He watched as she interacted with others, her kindness shining through the grime of her surroundings. In that moment, Nathaniel knew he had found the perfect candidate for his outrageous bet. As he approached her, the cacophony of the recycling center faded into the background. The world around him blurred, and all he could see was Mia, the embodiment of strength in adversity. He studied her as she worked, her brow furrowed in concentration, a mother determined to forge a better life for her child amidst the harshness of their reality. Nathaniel felt an unfamiliar pull, a connection that transcended their disparate worlds. Mia looked up, her eyes meeting his with an intensity that seemed to pierce through the barriers of their lives. In that brief exchange, Nathaniel saw the weight of her struggles and the flicker of hope that lived within her. It was an invitation, a challenge that beckoned him to step into her world, to understand the complexities of her existence. With a deep breath, Nathaniel approached her, his heart racing with the thrill of the unexpected. He proposed the wager, his words tumbling out in a rush as he outlined his audacious plan. Mia's initial hesitation was palpable. She regarded him with a mix of skepticism and curiosity. The notion of marrying a billionaire, even as part of a bet, seemed surreal. Yet, as Nathaniel detailed the terms, something shifted within her. The chance to escape her struggles, even if just temporarily, was tantalizing. Mia's mind raced with possibilities. Could this be her ticket to a different life? A chance to provide for Oliver without the constant weight of financial insecurity? After a tense moment of deliberation, she reluctantly agreed, convinced that this arrangement would be a fleeting escape, a mere chapter in her ongoing story of survival. As they stood there, two souls from vastly different worlds, a strange sense of anticipation hung in the air. Nathaniel felt exhilarated by the prospect of their unconventional arrangement, while Mia wrestled with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Neither could foresee the twists and turns that awaited them, the challenges that would test their perceptions of love and resilience. In that moment, beneath the harsh fluorescent lights of the recycling center, a new journey began. One that would lead them through the uncharted territory of their lives, forcing them to confront their pasts and discover the true depths of human connection. The stage was set for an extraordinary adventure, one that would challenge their beliefs and reshape their futures in ways they could never have imagined. As the wedding day loomed closer, the air crackled with tension between Nathaniel and Mia. The grandiosity of Nathaniel's world clashed with the simplicity that Mia cherished. Nathaniel envisioned a wedding that would reflect his wealth and stature, a spectacular event filled with extravagant decorations, a five-star catering service, and an opulent venue overlooking the city skyline. He imagined a lavish affair that would leave his friends in awe, a testament to his ability to have what others only dreamt of. In stark contrast, Mia found solace in the beauty of simplicity. She envisioned a small gathering, perhaps in a park adorned with wildflowers, where laughter echoed freely and the warmth of genuine connections overshadowed any glimmer of excess. For her, a wedding meant celebrating love, not showcasing wealth. She felt a deep-rooted connection to her humble beginnings, and the thought of an extravagant ceremony felt foreign, even unsettling. As they navigated this minefield of differing perspectives, moments of vulnerability began to emerge. In the quiet of their shared space, when the discussions turned from wedding details to their lives, a tentative bond started to form. Nathaniel began to see the strength in Mia's resilience. He admired her tenacity as she recounted her days spent collecting scrap metal and recyclables, providing for her son, Oliver. Each story revealed layers of her character that he found captivating. Meanwhile, Mia, despite her misgivings about the impending extravagance, could not help but be intrigued by Nathaniel's passion and drive. The way he spoke about his businesses and his vision for the future painted a picture of a man who was not just a billionaire but also a dreamer, one who believed in possibilities that lay beyond the horizon. As wedding preparations escalated, the tension morphed into something more complex. Mia's friends, who had rallied around her through thick and thin, expressed their skepticism about Nathaniel's intentions. They gathered at her small apartment, their voices filled with concern as they dissected every aspect of his proposal. They questioned if a man like Nathaniel, with his wealth and privilege, could truly understand the struggles of a woman like Mia. They worried that she was stepping into a world that would only deepen her scars, not heal them. Nathaniel, on the other hand, faced ridicule from his circle of elite friends who dismissed the impending marriage as a mere whim. They laughed at the idea of him marrying a commoner, suggesting that it was a publicity stunt more than a heartfelt commitment. The condescension stung, but Nathaniel remained steadfast, his determination to prove them wrong igniting a fire within him. He began to see the marriage as a challenge, not just a bet. He wanted to show that love could flourish, even in the most unlikely circumstances. As the wedding day approached, the couple found themselves caught in a whirlwind of emotions. The planning sessions were fraught with disagreements, but they also sparked moments of laughter. One afternoon, as they sifted through a catalog of wedding venues, Nathaniel's phone buzzed incessantly with notifications from his friends, all eager to chime in on the spectacle he was about to create. Mia, exasperated, tossed the catalog aside and turned to Nathaniel with an exasperated smile, joking that perhaps they should just elope. Her lightheartedness cut through the tension, and for a fleeting moment, they both laughed. The weight of their circumstances momentarily lifted. On the day of the ceremony, the venue was a dazzling display of opulence, adorned with crystal chandeliers and floral arrangements that seemed to defy gravity. The sun streamed through the grand windows, casting a golden hue over the decorated space. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, yet beneath the surface, an undercurrent of anxiety rippled through Mia. She could feel the weight of her friend's skepticism and the mocking laughter of Nathaniel's circle lingering in the air. As Mia walked down the aisle, her heart raced. She caught glimpses of Nathaniel standing at the altar, his confident frame a stark contrast to her own uncertainty. The crowd turned to her, a sea of faces filled with anticipation, but all she could focus on was the knot in her stomach. Each step felt monumental, echoing her fears and doubts. Would this be a mistake? Would she be sacrificing her heart for a bet? The ceremony unfolded in a blur. Nathaniel's vows were eloquent and grand, filled with promises that painted a picture of a future she yearned for but feared to embrace. When it was her turn, Mia's voice trembled as she spoke her vows. She struggled to find the right words that would encapsulate her journey, her struggles, and her hopes. As she looked into Nathaniel's eyes, she saw not just a man of wealth, but someone who was genuinely trying to bridge the chasm between their worlds. In that moment, she realized that beneath the layers of extravagance, there was a flicker of something genuine, a connection that was slowly forming, albeit precariously. Following the ceremony, the celebration erupted into chaos. Nathaniel's friends, who had initially viewed the union as a joke, began to take bets on how long the marriage would last, their laughter echoing through the lavish hall. Mia's friends, skeptical of Nathaniel's sincerity, whispered among themselves, their eyes narrowed in suspicion. The air was thick with tension as the two groups collided, one representing opulence and privilege, the other embodying resilience and authenticity. As the night wore on, Mia found herself caught between worlds. While Nathaniel mingled effortlessly with his friends, she felt like an outsider, a mere spectator in a game she didn't fully understand. She glanced around at the laughter and merriment, but beneath the surface, her heart felt heavy. It was a surreal experience, one that was supposed to signify a new beginning, yet it felt more like a culmination of her insecurities. Later that evening, in a quiet moment away from the festivities, Nathaniel and Mia found themselves on a balcony overlooking the city. The stars twinkled above, a stark contrast to the chaos inside. They stood side by side, the cool breeze wrapping around them like a comforting embrace. In the silence, a sense of connection began to weave its way through the air. Nathaniel turned to Mia, his expression softening as he acknowledged the weight of the day. As their honeymoon approached, a mix of anticipation and trepidation filled the air. They had decided on a secluded beach resort, a place where they could escape the prying eyes of their respective worlds. Yet, the journey ahead felt fraught with uncertainty. Would this time together solidify their bond, or would it expose the cracks that lay hidden beneath the surface? The honeymoon began with a blend of tension and joy. The picturesque setting was a stark contrast to the chaos that had preceded it, yet the shadows of their pasts lingered in the air. As they settled into their beachside villa, the warm sun bathed them in light, yet the weight of unspoken fears hung over them like a cloud. They spent their days exploring the vibrant local culture, but beneath the surface, both were grappling with the implications of their unconventional union. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a fiery glow across the sky, they shared a candlelit dinner on the beach. The ambience was romantic, yet Mia's heart raced with uncertainty. They laughed and shared stories, but as the night deepened, so did their connection. In a moment of vulnerability, they began to unveil their pasts. Mia spoke of the pain of her abandonment, of the struggle to provide for Oliver, while Nathaniel shared his own tales of solitude amidst wealth. As their stories intertwined, a realization began to blossom within them both. This marriage, born out of a bet, was slowly transforming into something more profound. It was not just a challenge or a game. It was a journey of healing, a chance to rewrite their narratives. The flicker of connection ignited a flame, and for the first time, both began to question the very nature of their arrangement. With the ocean waves crashing in the background, they shared laughter and tears, their hearts slowly unearthing the possibility of love amidst the rubble of their pasts. The night became a turning point, a moment that would resonate for the days to come. As they embraced the complexities of their journey together, both eager and apprehensive to discover what lay ahead. Mia stood on the edge of the vast living room, her heart racing as she surveyed the opulence surrounding her. The sleek, modern furniture and the breathtaking view of the city skyline from the floor-to-ceiling windows felt like a world that was not her own. She had returned from the honeymoon with Nathaniel, but the memories of their romantic escapade felt distant as the reality of their daily lives settled in. While the honeymoon had been infused with moments of joy and unexpected intimacy, the return to Nathaniel's world was a stark contrast that left her feeling like an outsider. As she moved through the apartment, the silence echoed around her. Nathaniel was in his home office, engrossed in work, leaving Mia alone with her thoughts. She glanced at the photographs adorning the walls, capturing moments of Nathaniel's life filled with glamorous parties, luxury vacations, and a network of friends who seemed to thrive in the elite circles. Each image felt like a reminder of her own inadequacies, whispering to her that she didn't belong here. Mia's heart ached with the realization that despite the excitement of their union, the weight of her past and the enormity of her new life was pressing down on her. The next few days were a blur of awkward encounters and strained conversations. Nathaniel's circle of friends, once seemingly welcoming, began to display their true colors. They would exchange glances when Mia entered the room, their laughter stifled as they whispered among themselves. Mia felt their judgment as they scrutinized her every move, a stark reminder of her humble origins. She tried to engage in their conversations about stock markets and charity galas, but the topics often felt alien to her. The more she attempted to participate, the more she felt like a fish out of water, floundering in a world that was never meant for her. Nathaniel, oblivious to the growing tension, continued to immerse himself in his work, believing that their arrangement would get easier with time. He was focused on the demands of his company and often brought work home, leaving little room for exploration of their new relationship. Mia wanted to share her thoughts and feelings, to reveal the discomfort that lingered beneath the surface, but every time she opened her mouth, the words seemed to dissolve into the air. Instead, she smiled and nodded, playing the role of the perfect wife, while internally she felt like a puppet, strings pulled by an invisible force that dictated her actions. As the days turned into weeks, Mia found herself spiraling deeper into her insecurities. She would often retreat to her small, sparsely decorated room, her sanctuary amidst the chaos of Nathaniel's life. Here, she would gaze out of the window, watching the world below, envious of the mothers on the street who strolled with their children. She missed the simplicity of her previous life, the messy reality of being a single mother who had to scavenge for scraps to provide for her son, Oliver. There was a rawness to those days that felt more authentic than the polished facade she was trying to maintain now. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow across the room, Mia sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by Oliver's toys. She busied herself with sorting through them, attempting to distract herself from the gnawing feelings of doubt. The soft sound of laughter from the living room drew her attention. Nathaniel was entertaining a few friends, their voices bright and full of life. They were sharing stories, and she could hear Nathaniel's laughter, rich and deep, resonating through the walls. Mia felt a pang of longing as she listened. She wanted to be part of that warmth, to share in the joy that seemed so effortless for the others. But she couldn't shake the feeling that she was merely an intruder in this vibrant tapestry of life, a thread that didn't quite fit. The laughter grew louder, and her heart sank further. Each chuckle felt like a reminder of her inadequacies. She was not the glamorous woman they expected Nathaniel to marry, nor did she have the social skills to navigate their conversations. The following days brought no respite. Mia's attempts to engage in Nathaniel's world only led to further isolation. She would accompany him to events, standing awkwardly at his side while he mingled with guests who effortlessly moved from one topic to another. As they showcased their wealth and influence, Mia stood quietly, her smile faltering as she felt the weight of their scrutiny. The whispers would swirl around her, and though Nathaniel would often introduce her proudly as his wife, she could sense the underlying disbelief in their eyes. Nathaniel, however, remained blissfully unaware of the impact his life was having on Mia. He was consumed by his work and the demands of his social calendar, believing that their marriage would naturally evolve into something meaningful. To him, the bet was merely a challenge, a game that he was determined to win. He had not anticipated the emotional toll it would take on Mia, nor did he see the cracks forming in the walls she had built around herself. As the weeks passed, Mia found herself increasingly withdrawn. The vibrant woman who had once scavenged through dumpsters with a fierce determination to provide for her son had begun to fade. She felt like a shadow, drifting through a life that no longer felt like her own. She missed her independence, the strength she had cultivated in the face of adversity. Now, she felt shackled by expectations, struggling to conform to a life that was not hers. Mia's internal battle reached a head one evening after a particularly lavish dinner party Nathaniel had hosted. Dressed in a gown that felt foreign against her skin, she had attempted to put on a brave face, but as the night wore on, the laughter and clinking of glasses only served to deepen her sense of alienation. When they returned home, the silence in the apartment felt almost deafening, amplifying the tension that had been building between them. It was then that Mia could no longer contain her emotions. She confronted Nathaniel, her voice trembling as she laid bare her fears and frustrations. She spoke of her insecurities, the feeling of being an imposter in his world, and the weight of past abandonment that clung to her like a cloak. Nathaniel, taken aback, listened as Mia poured out her heart, her vulnerability shining through the cracks of her facade. In that moment, he began to understand the emotional toll their arrangement was taking on her, the deep-seated fears that threatened to unravel the bond they had begun to forge. Nathaniel, in turn, felt a flicker of realization wash over him. He had been so focused on the external aspects of their marriage, the bet, and his friends' opinions, that he had neglected to truly see Mia. As she shared her story, her fears of being abandoned again, he felt a surge of protectiveness rise within him. He vowed to be different, to stand by her side and support her through the challenges that lay ahead. In that moment of vulnerability, a fragile bond began to bridge the gap between them. It was a connection that was raw and unrefined, but it was real. The walls that had separated them began to crumble, revealing the potential for a deeper understanding of one another. As they stood together, two souls navigating the complexities of their lives, they began to carve out a space where love could flourish amidst the chaos, a place where their fears could be met with compassion and their differences could be embraced rather than judged. The journey ahead would not be easy, but for the first time, Mia felt a glimmer of hope amidst the uncertainty. Nathaniel's promise to be there for her ignited a spark within her, a flicker of resilience that began to light the way forward. Together, they would have to confront the challenges that lay ahead, but for the first time, they were no longer alone in their struggles. As the weeks slipped into months, Nathaniel Brooks and Mia Torres found themselves navigating the rocky terrain of an unconventional marriage. Each day brought new challenges, but it also unveiled the unexpected beauty of their relationship. The couple, once strangers from opposing worlds, began to carve out a life together, learning from one another in ways neither had anticipated. Nathaniel, ever the driven philanthropist, took Mia under his wing, introducing her to the various charities and organizations he supported. They visited shelters for homeless families, participated in food drives, and even volunteered at community centers. Each experience opened Mia's eyes to a world she had only glimpsed from the outside. Nathaniel's dedication to giving back inspired her, igniting a flame of passion within her that she hadn't felt in years. She marveled at how he moved through these spaces with ease, his charisma disarming the barriers that often separated the wealthy from those in need. On the other hand, Mia's perspective enriched Nathaniel's life in ways he hadn't fully understood until he experienced them firsthand. She introduced him to her neighborhood, a vibrant tapestry filled with stories of resilience and strength. Nathaniel walked the streets with her, meeting her friends and neighbors, absorbing their laughter, their struggles, and their triumphs. He began to grasp the essence of community, the connections that bound people together, the unspoken support that surged through the veins of every interaction. Nathaniel realized that wealth could not buy the kind of happiness and fulfillment he saw in Mia's world, and he found himself yearning for that authenticity. The sun-drenched afternoons turned into evenings filled with shared meals, laughter, and tentative conversations about their dreams and fears. They cooked together in Nathaniel's sprawling kitchen, the scent of spices and simmering sauces wafting through the air. Mia found joy in these simple moments, where the opulence of Nathaniel's penthouse faded away and the two of them became just Mia and Nathaniel, two souls finding common ground. Sometimes they reminisced about their pasts, unearthing the scars and the triumphs that defined them. Each revelation brought them closer, weaving a fabric of understanding and empathy between them. Yet, just as life began to settle into a comforting rhythm, the shadows of the past loomed large. Mia's ex-husband, a specter she believed had been banished from her life, resurfaced with a vengeance. He appeared one fateful morning at her doorstep, the sunlight casting a harsh glare on his familiar features. His presence was a jarring reminder of the pain she had fought so hard to escape. He demanded to see Oliver, wielding threats that sent shivers down Mia's spine. The memories of abandonment, betrayal, and hopelessness flooded back, and she felt herself retreating into the dark corners of her mind. The very foundation of her newfound happiness began to tremble. Mia pulled away from Nathaniel, her laughter replaced by a heavy silence. She no longer sought his company, avoiding their shared meals and the warmth of his embrace. The walls she had begun to dismantle rapidly rebuilt themselves, creating a barrier that left Nathaniel feeling helpless and confused. Nathaniel, acutely aware of the shift in Mia's demeanor, felt a growing sense of urgency. He watched as the light that had once sparkled in her eyes dimmed, replaced by a cloud of anxiety and fear. He needed to understand what had caused this sudden withdrawal, but every attempt to reach out was met with resistance. Mia's silence was deafening, and the chasm between them widened with each passing day. Days turned into weeks, and Nathaniel's concern morphed into determination. He would not allow the shadows of Mia's past to eclipse the future they were building together. He knew she needed him now more than ever, but the question loomed. How could he convince her to lean on him when she was so firmly entrenched in her self-imposed isolation? In a moment of clarity, Nathaniel decided to confront the source of Mia's pain. He found himself standing outside her apartment, heart racing at the thought of facing her ex-husband. The man who had once shattered Mia's world was now a threat to everything they had built together. Nathaniel took a deep breath, steeling himself for the confrontation that lay ahead. The air was thick with tension as Nathaniel knocked on the door. When her ex-husband answered, surprise flickered across his face, quickly replaced by a smug grin. Nathaniel instantly recognized the arrogance that had characterized their past encounters. The man was still the same coward who had abandoned Mia and their son. Only now he wore a mask of false bravado. Nathaniel wasted no time in addressing the issue at hand. He spoke of the consequences of abandonment, the scars it left on a family, and the importance of protecting those who could not protect themselves. His passion ignited, and he firmly conveyed that he would not allow Mia or Oliver to be pawns in someone else's game. The words poured from him, fueled by a fierce protectiveness that he had never felt before. As the confrontation escalated, Nathaniel could see the cracks beginning to form in Mia's ex-husband's facade. The bravado faltered as Nathaniel's conviction cut through the air like a knife. He spoke not only for Mia but for Oliver, asserting that they were a family now, and he would do anything to keep them safe. The man's tone shifted, revealing the insecurity that lay beneath his arrogance. Nathaniel sensed the shift, recognizing that he was finally getting through. Mia, watching from a distance, felt a swell of emotions. She had longed for someone to stand up for her, to defend the family she was trying so hard to protect. Nathaniel's words resonated deep within her, awakening a sense of hope she thought had been extinguished. She realized that she had not only married a man who could provide for her financially, but a man who was willing to fight for their family. The confrontation reached a fever pitch, and Nathaniel's resolve only solidified. He made it clear that he would not back down, that he would remain a steadfast presence in Mia and Oliver's lives. The ex-husband, cornered and stripped of his bravado, finally backed down, retreating with a promise of future encounters that sent chills down Mia's spine. As Nathaniel returned to Mia's side, their eyes met, and in that moment, an unspoken understanding passed between them. The bond they had forged through shared experiences and vulnerabilities deepened, solidifying their commitment to one another. Mia realized that Nathaniel was not just a temporary solution to her struggles. He was becoming an integral part of her life, a partner willing to shoulder the weight of her past and build a future together. In the days that followed, Mia began to open up again. The walls she had built so carefully started to crumble as she leaned on Nathaniel for support. With each passing moment, they found solace in one another, slowly rediscovering the joy that had initially brought them together. They were not just two people bound by a wager. They were a family, navigating the complexities of love, trust, and resilience in a world that continued to challenge them. As the couple stood together, hand in hand, they looked forward to the future with fresh eyes. The journey ahead would not be easy, but they were committed to facing it together, one step at a time, fortified by the strength of their love and the unwavering resolve to protect the family they were creating. As the days dwindled down to the final weeks of Nathaniel and Mia's unconventional arrangement, a palpable shift began to envelop their daily lives. Nathaniel, the billionaire tech mogul, had become acutely aware of the transformation within himself. He was no longer merely a man who had made an outrageous bet. He found himself deeply invested in Mia, the resilient single mother who had entered his life with a strength he had never fully appreciated until now. The realization struck him like a bolt of lightning. He had developed genuine feelings for Mia. Determined to express his burgeoning affection, he concocted a plan for a surprise celebration. Nathaniel envisioned a gathering that would blend his world of luxury with the warmth of the community Mia cherished. He wanted to showcase her importance in his life and solidify the bond that had grown between them. Days were spent meticulously planning every detail, from the elegant decorations to the carefully curated guest list, ensuring that it would be a night to remember. On the day of the celebration, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement. Nathaniel arrived at the venue early, overseeing the final touches. The room was adorned with soft fairy lights that twinkled like stars, casting a warm glow over the space. Tables were elegantly set with white linens and centerpieces of vibrant flowers, reflecting both opulence and the rustic charm that Mia embodied. As guests began to arrive, an air of anticipation filled the room. Nathaniel could hardly contain his eagerness. This was not just a party. It was a declaration of his feelings. Mia, on the other hand, was a bundle of nerves. She had been informed about the celebration but had no idea of its scale. As she walked into the venue, her eyes widened in disbelief. The decorations were stunning, and the guests, friends from both their worlds, mingled, laughter and chatter filling the air. Yet, beneath her awe, a flicker of apprehension danced in her heart. The weight of her past loomed over her, a constant reminder that happiness could be fleeting. As the evening unfolded, Nathaniel took every opportunity to shine a spotlight on Mia. He shared stories about her resilience, her strength, and how she had changed his life. Each word was laden with sincerity, and Mia felt a warmth spreading through her, illuminating the shadows of her insecurities. For the first time, she saw herself through Nathaniel's eyes, not as a scrap collector or a single mother struggling to make ends meet, but as a woman worthy of love and admiration. The celebration reached a crescendo as Nathaniel prepared to unveil the highlight of the evening. With a flourish, he produced a small, intricately designed box, and the guests fell silent, their eyes glued to him. Mia's heart raced, a mix of excitement and trepidation coursing through her veins. Nathaniel opened the box to reveal a delicate bracelet adorned with charms that symbolized their journey together. An anchor for resilience, a heart for love, and a compass for direction. But just as Nathaniel reached for Mia's wrist, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The doors burst open, and in walked her ex-husband. The room, once filled with warmth and laughter, fell into a stunned silence. His presence was like a dark cloud looming over the celebration, and Mia's heart sank. She felt the ground beneath her shift, memories of pain and betrayal flooding her mind. Mia's ex-husband sauntered in with an air of arrogance, his eyes scanning the room before landing on her. The tension in the air thickened as he made his way toward her, a smug grin plastered on his face. He was a stark reminder of everything she had fought to escape, and in that moment, all the progress she had made felt threatened. Nathaniel, sensing the shift in energy, stepped forward protectively. The confrontation escalated quickly, words exchanged like daggers in the tense atmosphere. Mia's ex-husband hurled accusations, trying to undermine her, questioning her choices and her ability to provide for their son. Each word was a blow, and Mia felt herself shrinking, the weight of her past pressing down on her shoulders. She wanted to stand tall, to assert her strength, but the past had a way of creeping back in, threatening to engulf her. Nathaniel, fueled by a mix of anger and protectiveness, interjected. He stood firmly between Mia and her ex-husband, his presence imposing. The tension crackled around them as voices rose, the air heavy with unspoken emotions. Nathaniel's voice, usually smooth and composed, trembled slightly with intensity. He declared that their marriage was not merely a bet but a union built on real feelings and commitment. The guests remained silent, watching the scene unfold, a mix of shock and intrigue on their faces. Mia felt a rush of gratitude mingled with confusion. Nathaniel's words reverberated in her mind, and she could see the sincerity in his eyes, but the chaos of her past weighed heavily on her heart. In that moment, Nathaniel turned to Mia, his gaze softening. He spoke of family, of love that transcended mere arrangements, and of a future he envisioned with her. Every word was a lifeline, pulling her back from the brink of despair. She could see the determination etched on his face. He was not just defending her, but declaring his love for her in front of everyone present. As the confrontation continued, Mia felt the tug-of-war between her past and her present intensify. The ex-husband's presence was a stark reminder of her pain, yet Nathaniel's unwavering support illuminated a path forward. She watched as Nathaniel stood his ground, unyielding and fierce. The sight of him fighting for her stirred something deep within her, a flicker of hope, a whisper of the love she had longed for. The scene reached a boiling point, and Nathaniel's voice rang out with a clarity that silenced the chaos. He articulated the truth of their relationship, emphasizing the love and respect that had grown between them. He acknowledged Mia's struggles and celebrated her tenacity. It was a declaration not just to her ex-husband, but to everyone in the room, an affirmation of their bond that transcended the bet that initially brought them together. Mia's heart swelled with emotion, and for the first time, she felt seen, not just as a survivor of her past, but as a woman deserving of love and happiness. Nathaniel's words echoed in her mind, igniting a fierce determination within her. She stepped forward, reclaiming her voice, and faced her ex-husband with newfound strength. The confrontation, once filled with fear and doubt, transformed into a moment of empowerment. As the evening unfolded, the chaos began to settle. Nathaniel's presence anchored her, a reminder that she was not alone. The guests, who had been silent witnesses, started to murmur amongst themselves, a sense of solidarity forming in the wake of the confrontation. Mia felt the warmth of their support enveloping her, and for the first time in a long while, she dared to hope. In that moment, amid the remnants of chaos, Mia realized that while her past would always be a part of her, it no longer defined her. The love and support she found in Nathaniel sparked a new beginning, one that would lead her toward a future she had once thought impossible. The celebration, despite its rocky turn, had become a pivotal moment in her life, a testament to resilience, love, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. As the deadline approached, Mia found herself standing at a crossroads, enveloped in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Each day felt like a ticking clock, counting down to an uncertain future, and the weight of her past pressed heavily on her shoulders. The once vibrant hues of her dreams began to fade into a murky gray, tainted by memories of abandonment and betrayal. She often stared out of the window of their lavish apartment, her eyes tracing the skyline of the city, a world that felt simultaneously distant and suffocating. Nathaniel's world, with its glimmering opulence, became a constant reminder of everything she had struggled to leave behind. Yet it also held the promise of safety for her and Oliver. Mia wandered through the carefully curated spaces of their home, each room a testament to Nathaniel's wealth and taste. The furniture exuded elegance, soft silks and rich woods, but it felt foreign to her. She missed the simplicity of her old life, the clutter of her small apartment filled with makeshift toys and the warmth of her son's laughter echoing off the walls. Yet, here, surrounded by luxury, there was a stark loneliness that crept in, whispering doubts about her worthiness in this new life. Nathaniel had shown her kindness and affection, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she was merely a pawn in his elaborate game. Would he truly want her when the bet was over? As she pondered these questions, her mind drifted back to the tumultuous relationship with her ex-husband, a man who had once promised her the world but had instead left her with nothing but shattered dreams. The memories of the heartbreak flooded back, vivid and painful, and she felt the walls closing in around her. Despite Nathaniel's reassurances, the specter of her past loomed large, casting shadows over her hope for a future filled with love and stability. Meanwhile, Nathaniel was embroiled in a storm of his own. The revelations of his friend's hidden agenda struck him like a bolt of lightning. Their plans to sabotage his marriage felt like a betrayal, one that cut deeper than he had anticipated. As he pieced together the puzzle, he realized that their motivations were entwined with Mia's ex-husband, a figure he had believed was merely an obstacle but was now revealed as part of a larger scheme. The thought ignited a fierce determination within him, a vow to protect Mia and Oliver at all costs. This was no longer just a bet. It had transformed into something far more significant. Nathaniel's resolve solidified as he devised a strategy to confront the orchestrators of this betrayal. He felt an unfamiliar fire within him, a protective instinct that surged every time he thought of Mia and Oliver. He envisioned a future where they were safe, where their lives were not dictated by the whims of others. This was about family, his family. He would not let anyone tear them apart. The day of reckoning arrived, charged with tension. Nathaniel had gathered his friends, the ones who had conspired against him and Mia's ex-husband, under the pretense of a casual meeting. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken accusations as Nathaniel stepped into the room, his demeanor calm but his heart racing. He could almost hear the thrum of his pulse in his ears as he prepared to expose the truth. As he stood before them, the surface of his composure began to crack, revealing the fury that simmered beneath. The faces of his friends twisted into expressions of confusion and disbelief, while Mia's ex-husband wore a mask of arrogance, convinced that he would come out unscathed. Nathaniel didn't waste time with pleasantries. He launched into the accusations, each word laden with the weight of betrayal. He spoke of loyalty, respect, and the sanctity of love, emphasizing that their actions were not just a game, it was a life. Mia watched from a distance, her heart pounding as she absorbed the scene unfolding before her. Nathaniel's words echoed in her mind, and she felt a mix of pride and vulnerability. He was fighting for her, for them. She could see the tension in his shoulders, the fire in his eyes. It was a side of him she had not fully grasped until now, and it stirred something deep within her. A flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could overcome the scars of their pasts. As Nathaniel laid bare the truth, the atmosphere shifted. The confidence of the ex-husband began to wane, replaced by nervous glances exchanged with Nathaniel's friends. They had underestimated Nathaniel's resolve, and as he detailed their plots, it became clear that their plans would unravel before their eyes. With each revelation, the ex-husband's bravado crumbled, and the realization that he had underestimated Nathaniel's commitment to Mia struck him hard. The confrontation reached a boiling point. The ex-husband, desperate to regain control, attempted to turn the tables, spewing venomous accusations toward Nathaniel, but it only fueled Nathaniel's determination. He stood firm, unwavering, and as the truth of the situation became undeniable, the ex-husband's facade finally shattered. In an act of desperation, he lashed out, but Nathaniel was ready. The scene shifted quickly. The tension escalated until it culminated in the arrival of law enforcement, summoned by Nathaniel's earlier call. The ex-husband was arrested for harassment, his threats and manipulations laid bare for all to see. Mia felt a surge of emotions. Relief washed over her, but it was mingled with a lingering fear of the chaos that had erupted. As the dust settled, Nathaniel turned to Mia, his expression softening as he approached her. The chaos of the confrontation faded into the background, leaving only the two of them in the aftermath. There was a moment of silence, heavy with unspoken words, and as they stood facing each other, the realization of their bond became undeniable. With the threat of the past finally behind them, they found themselves standing on the precipice of a new beginning. Nathaniel reached out, his hand brushing against Mia's, and in that simple touch, 1,000 words were exchanged. They didn't need to speak. Their hearts understood each other in a way that transcended their tumultuous history. With the chaos of the day behind them, they shared a quiet moment, tears glistening in Mia's eyes as she finally allowed herself to feel the weight of everything that had transpired. Nathaniel took a step closer, enveloping her in a warm embrace, and for the first time, Mia felt safe. In those fleeting seconds, they both understood that what had begun as a gamble had blossomed into something far more profound. Their lives, once marked by uncertainty and grief, were now intertwined with threads of love, resilience, and a shared commitment to forge a new path together. As they stood in the ruins of their pasts, they made a silent vow to each other: to protect, to cherish, and to build a life that would stand resilient against any storm. They decided to continue their journey, no longer just as part of a bet, but as partners, ready to embrace the challenges and joys of life as a real family. In that moment, love transcended the barriers of their worlds, uniting their hearts and paving the way for a beautiful future that lay ahead, waiting to be embraced.